over the world, governments are falling. All over the planet, populations are rising up and burning down large parts of their cities, burning down government buildings, and then killing ethnic minorities as soon as the government's been removed. And in every case, whether it was Libya or Tunisia or Egypt or Syria, or what we're seeing unfold in other parts of the world, it is the globalist, it is the Ford Foundation, Google, and others who later brag, and it comes out that they are the ones who are out there funding the organizations to start the rioting to begin with. And the big think tanks admit in the last few years, and we've covered it here on air, and even traveled to England to cover it at the very same hotel where Google met secretly with MI6 and others to plan the Arab Spring. The banksters are devaluing currencies worldwide. That only hurts you if you live in America or live in, say, England. But if you live in a place like Egypt and 55% of your disposable income that might be $600, $700 a year is food, and food prices double, what happens if 55% of your money in 2010 in Egypt, we can look up the numbers, this is one example, you're spending 55% of your money on food, and then suddenly over the next few years it doubles. Do the math, that's 110% of your money. You begin to starve, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the Egyptians. They're very skinny now. They weren't just a few years ago. They are starving. The globalists have actuaries on record. They know with these computer programs, war gamed on record, they know when you're going to order at Amazon before you order it and already ship it, okay? I'm telling you about this for a long time now. It's mainstream news. Not because I'm smart. It's been in all the MIT papers for decades. That was their holy grail, that they've attained it in the last decade. And now they can game everything. They know how to manipulate oil prices, food prices, you name it, to make a country blow up, and they know when it's going to blow up, so they show up a month before it's going to blow up, and they know how it's going to blow up with a pro-liberty, egalitarian awakening movement in Egypt that is going to put down the Muslim Brotherhood and even put down the government control and create a golden age in Egypt. There was a lot of stuff lining up for that with a lot of youth that had gotten into freedom and things. And the system said, we're not going to let that happen, just like they did in '53 in Iran when pro-America Mossadegh was in there. They put in the radical jihadis to overthrow him. Then they double-crossed them and put the Shah in. Just like they put al-Qaeda into Libya because they were helping Africa. Libya was building up all of Africa like a real IMF would do. And working with the West, and Gaddafi bought into all of it, was meeting with all the European presidents and had apologized for stuff and invested most of his money with big U.S. banks. They set him up, folks. He opened up everything, built big hotels, was giving money to all of Africa. He'd live in a tent. I'm not romanticizing Muammar Gaddafi, but compared to our leaders, he's the real deal. Self-made, ladies and gentlemen. And actually spent 99% of the dictator wealth on the people. Not allowed, ladies and gentlemen. Not allowed. They put al-Qaeda in there. They put burqas back on the women's heads, and they killed all the minority Muslims and the blacks in the country. On record, 40,000 blacks lined up and shot or chopped up with machetes by the al-Qaeda people out of Saudi Arabia who are extremely anti-black. That's why I never get why a lot of blacks are big Wahhabists and follow that particular part of Islam in those groups, because, man, I've read their writings on black people. It makes the Ku Klux Klan sound pro-black. You ought to go read it yourself if you want to. I'm not going to repeat it on air. That's what's going on in Kiev right now. And I saw on Fox News last night with Shepard Smith, when I got off the show in the afternoon, I knew there was fires going on for weeks, this river of flame. We found one from the air, but that's small. It was at nighttime. And it went for 10 miles with the buildings and the skyscrapers and just went on and on. Hundreds of feet of flame going for miles like a Dante's Inferno. We're trying to find it. The crew's doing a great job. We're digging around for it. And we can just go TiVo, Shepard Smith's show from yesterday. They had it up on that big Jumbotron. And it was incredible where he was pointing it all out. And They're calling them protesters and freedom fighters in our news. And ladies and gentlemen, these people are shooting the police preemptively. They've been given weapons, obviously. And I'm a pro-Second Amendment guy. If they were overthrowing a communist government, I'd say hooray, hooray. If they were overthrowing an unelected government, I'd say good for you. They're not. It's an elected government that didn't vote to join the EU a month ago, and all hell broke loose. And the EU on record is to come in, take over your country, hand over all the infrastructure, and bankrupt it on record. I mean, who wants to join the EU? That's like joining a sinking ship. But it's all about taking down Russia. People go, well, good, we need to take down Russia. Folks, the globalists are taking us down with Agenda 21, our farms, our ranches, our businesses, our power plants. We don't want to be part of the criminal elements of Wall Street and the Bank of England and others that are wrecking all these different countries. This is very evil. This is economic warfare. And believe me, folks, if the police in this country are ordered to go out and confiscate guns, civil war like this times, let's not exaggerate. We're a lot bigger country, a lot bigger population. Let me be conservative. Civil war of this, I'd say 50 times this. Because by the way, people aren't just going to start burning trash cans and stuff. Patriots, libertarians, conservatives don't ever protest, you notice, because when they do, they protest like 1776. And it's not going to be pretty. And the globalists actually want to maneuver this. And this is what I want to explain to you today. What we're seeing in Kiev and what we see going on there and what we see happening there is a microcosm of how the globalists operate. They don't usually invade your country. They don't usually come in with an overwhelming force openly. The Bushes did that, and that was against main globalist policy, but the establishment let them do it as a test. They do it by fomenting opposition and overthrow groups and balkanization and destabilization programs. Then they take over that country and use it the next phase to exploit to the next country, try to infiltrate and overthrow it. That's how the globalists operate, through subversion. It's on record. And they have already created in the last 60 years through the different foundations, the Carnegie, the Ford Foundation, mainly on that case, teaching that the Southwest belongs to Mexico, teaching that whites are inherently racist in all the high schools, all the colleges. I went to college. I went to high school. I was taught that in Dallas. I was taught that in Austin in high school. I was taught that at community college, and so I didn't go to main college. Every class, it could be math, it could be U.S. history, it could be psychology. I was taking a bunch of courses to see what I liked. It was white people are bad, America's bad, the Southwest belongs to Mexico, and we're going to have a communist takeover, and we're going to take the guns, and all of you white people should be ashamed of yourselves. This was all coming out of white people's mouths. And when I wrote papers against it, they would give me Fs, and I would write misspelled as a test, screwed up ones, worshiping communism and stuff as a sick joke. I did it a few times. They would give me A+ and invite me for coffee afterwards. And I said, that's it, I'm out of here. I'm going to go do an Access TV show. The only place I can get on air, I'm going to fight these people. And now you see the universities, you see it everywhere. I mean, it is just incredible what is going on, so that they can then have the riots start up whenever they want in this country. You don't just think they're going to come for the guns and then leave it at that and have a civil war over there. No. They're going to stage some race stuff and get the Southwest burning. And then it'll be, there'll be sanctions on the U.S. if they don't let this become its own autonomous zone, where they put us into a North American Union, what Obama's going to Mexico right now to do. And then they always then have a super union with the old groups, the old countries, broken up into small little groups within it. So globalism is the opposite of unity and the opposite of sovereignty. It's totally exploitive, totally predatory. And so you watch. Ukraine will be much worse in a year than it is now. If they would have gone under the EU, it would have been much worse for them. And this is what the government of the Ukraine now gets, because they didn't join the EU, the incredibly predatory EU. And when they voted a month ago, remember, to not join, I said, that's it, get ready for their cities to burn. On record, it's not hard. You don't join NATO, you don't join the EU, they're going to overthrow your country just like Serbia. In that case, they brought in radical Wahhabist Muslims out of Albania, had them blow up churches, shoot little kids on the street. The Serbs got mad, attacked them. I mean, I'm not taking sides for the Serb folks. I have no Slavic blood in me. I've never been to Serbia. I just studied real geopolitics and what actually happened under Bill Clinton. And they would have a guy with tuberculosis wanting into a food tent that had wire around it, and Time Magazine and Newsweek and all of them would show it, and CNN going, look at this starving man in a Serb concentration camp. It was all lies, folks. The Serbs in the UN zone numbers lost double to triple depending on which war in the 90s, and were always the ones being attacked. Just like when the Syrians fight back against the outside al-Qaeda invasion, oh, it's a horrible atrocity. And they brought in the al-Qaeda into the south, and they took a third of the country. Kosovo is a drug running route, and now they're still attacking up into the rest of the country. And this is how the globalists operate. And they bombed Belgrade and the rest of the country with depleted uranium. Why not give old Clinton 5 peace prizes for that? All because it was a sovereign country, and they broke it up, folks. After the fall of the Soviet Union, and you know, Tito had been dead a long time, all that whole place was getting along fine. The whole Balkans, where we get the term balkanization, the whole Balkans was getting along until the West came in and did that, just like the Middle East. This is such an evil divide and conquer policy. It is so bad, and they're going to do it here in America. The globalists have controlled the mainstream media for a long time, but now they're expanding, making the weaponization even more vicious and deceptive. All the major networks are state-run.
We are partnering this year with the NFL.
The NFL has become a political weapon against the Second Amendment and pushes Obamacare. MSNBC tells us that our children belong to the state.
We have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families, and recognize that kids belong to whole communities.
The brainwashing media machine has been turned up on high, and it's time for humanity to double down on the true people's media and strike back against the tyrants that are destroying our civilization with their lies and fraud. We are the resistance. You are the resistance. You are the info war. It is more important than ever to realize that we are not the alternative media. We are the true media. The establishment dinosaur press is dying.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
Join us at InfoWarsNews.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. Members can share their memberships with up to 11 people. By subscribing, you will literally be buying war bonds in the info war to expand our operation in the face of the tyrants. Join us at PrisonPlanet.tv.